Kia ora guys, welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max, I'm the host of this channel. Just make sure you're subscribed to me before you start watching this video. And of course, a big thank you to my patrons. As per usual, you guys are awesome. World Rugby has recently come out with some news regarding the colour of match day outfits. So I've got this wee post on Instagram by Ball Carrier, great independent source. And so the headline is Kit Clash. World Rugby will no longer allow both teams to wear dark kits in test matches. It's then got a bit of a paragraph about why that's the case. We'd better read that. So guys, what it says is that World Rugby have discussed the topic for years, but it has now reportedly become policy for 2025 and onwards. The change will mean that teams who seemingly don't have a kit clash, such as the Springboks and All Blacks, will now have to ensure that one of the sides wear their alternate kit, which is the white colour, of course, as it says. This is apparently to accommodate individuals with colour blindness. However, SARU and the NZR are apparently unhappy and concerned that it could harm the commercial value of their brands. The following is reportedly a statement from SA Rugby obtained from the Daily Maverick. The guidelines say that if one person on the sidelines of the school field is having trouble following some elements of the game due to an avoidable kit clash, then rugby is letting them down. But we believe that some or all of the 11 out of 12 males and 199 women out of 200 who are not colorblind on the statistical base presented there, may also feel let down if the time-honoured traditions of the game are lost. And that is exactly the problem that I've got with what's going on. World Rugby is making a very daft decision and really damaging the brands of the teams going on. The All Blacks, when they play Scotland and France, I totally get that. Someone does have to wear an away jersey when these two teams play against each other. But South Africa and the All Blacks having to wear different kits from each other, it's ludicrous, man. We've seen so many test matches with the green versus the black, and it's been very clear to observers that which team is who, stuff like that. And the disabled community, they already have a hard enough time dealing with vitriol from those who don't understand their disabilities. So why would you pander to the disabled community and make them feel worse because other people have to suffer for something that the disabled people cannot control? Those who are colorblind don't get a say when they are born with colorblindness. Only God decides if people are born with such a disability. And a lot of those people can find some very basic things very challenging. Like if a colorblind person gets told by their mother or father when they're like 16 or something, go to the supermarket, kid, get me a Granny Smith apple, they're not going to know which apple is Granny Smith unless there's a sign there, because they won't be able to tell the difference. They find basic stuff like that hard enough. And so if sports games are getting changed around, flipped, the kits are changing for the sake of these people who are a very, very small minority, some of the majority are going to get pretty grumpy, and that's just going to lead to backlash against people who have no control in their disabilities. There's also been a few comments that I've been told about from people with colour blindness who aren't on board with this. As said, 11 out of 12 men are colorblind and 199 women out of 200 are colorblind. That's a very, very small amount of people. And when you're a business, do you want to pander to minorities or do you want to pander to the majority? Ideally, as a business, you want to capture as many people in the audience as possible. Sports and the blind, there are still blind people who listen to the game to feel the atmosphere. You can see this guy with his dog at a Scotland game one day, of course. That still happens. Some people who are colorblind can still watch the game and know from things like the jersey number or what the commentators are saying. It's not impossible for them to watch the game. They can still do it. Some people in this world just have certain difficulties that are completely out of their control, and it's all good to give them a hand, do things like that. But when the majority of viewers have to suffer from a long experience for the sake of others, it's just going to get a bit of backlash. As you guys can see, the majority of my viewers are about 45 years old or so. I'm 23 years old. The majority of my audience is much older than me. So as this is the majority of my customer base, I guess I'll say for the arguments, do I want to alienate these old dudes in their 40s? Or do I want to have yarns with them and continue to make very long videos that they have the attention span for? Absolutely. If I all of a sudden start pandering to my own generation, Gen Z, who has a terrible attention span, that's not going to go well because I'm going to alienate the majority of my viewers. I'm going to continue making longer analysis videos and fight back against places like TikTok. I will not post reels because I don't want to be responsible for the erosion of my audience's attention span. And that is okay. I've still got an audience. I don't plan on doing this whole thing forever. And so what I want to do while I've got this whole thing going is I want to continue to please my majority audience by continuing to make the content that I'm already making and find ways to improve what I'm already doing rather than completely just changing my identity overnight and making completely different content. It's just not the way to go. A lot of these guys are men as well, and older men do tend to become creatures of habit as time goes on. I've worked at a bar before where the majority of the customers were old men. Every time I was at work, the same customers would order the same types of beer because they were creatures of habit, they were retired, they wanted to enjoy their final days doing what they loved. And the majority of rugby players are very young guys. It's a young man's game. And so those who are watching rugby and watching the extras of it on YouTube, the extra stuff like the breakdown on Sky, things like that, are the older generations who want to get reminded of when they used to play the game themselves because they can't play anymore due to their age because it's such a physical game, and when you start reaching your mid-30s, your body's just too broken to continue doing it. I even had to hang the boots up at 17 because of concussions. The majority of my audience is also from the Northern Hemisphere, so I want to continue going towards that direction, doing that stuff. We've seen several terrible decisions made by businesses in recent years that are very well-profiled events that have backfired majorly. Gillette, which is the shaving company, I don't purchase their razors anymore because they alienated men really badly with a very advertisement in about 2017 or so. We've also seen the recent incident with Bud Light. Bud Light has got a majority of their customers as very young people, but the thing is, a lot of those young people grow up and continue to drink it into their older age. So while the youngsters are the ones buying them the most loyal customers are those who are in the older generations, and they've really been very grumpy at a recent decision that Bud Light's made that I'm pretty sure you'll all know of. You have to continue to keep your core audience solid. Places like Star Wars that are alienating all of their older audiences are now feeling it real bad. Their TV show ratings for shows like The Mandalorian have been going down the drain as of late, while Solo, which was released in 2018, the Han Solo movie, it lost money, which is a real shocker, because on top of the budget for the film, like paying the actors, paying the camera operators, the lighting people, they also have to do things like pay for marketing, and that's not included in the actual budget that we see on Wikipedia's articles on the film. And so by continuing to go against the majority of their audience, World Rugby is going to be making a very bad decision. Most Springbok fans and All Black fans are older men who miss the days when they used to play themselves, and so they go down to the stadia and they watch the test matches, and creatures of habit get very grumpy when their habit is attacked, when it's undermined, things like that. By the time you're 25 years old, your brain is fully developed and it's pretty much set in its ways. A lot of colorblind people, as I said before as well, they're going to feel like the majority of people are having their ability to keep their traditions attacked, things like that. The colorblind community, I feel for you guys that you're being thrown under a bus like this. And to those who want to see the kit clashes, we can't have them all the time, but there are some instances where kit clashes are not as obvious as you believe they are. The Springboks and the All Blacks do not have clashing kits in the eyes of the majority of people. And so when the majority of viewers see a Springbok team travelling to Auckland in a white kit, a lot of them are going to be put off because of pandering, and they're going to get into arguments, things like that. The last thing that rugby needs is politics to divide the game. I don't like discussing politics on this channel because I know that it shouldn't interfere with sports. I don't ever discuss it unless I'm discussing something behind the scenes of rugby, and so I'm going to leave it here by saying, guys, we don't want another 1981 Springbok tour. We just want to continue to grow the game. We want to continue to please the core audience while also finding other people to join in and later become part of that core audience as the game grows across the world and across the hemispheres, across the continents. We need to grow the game in a healthy way rather than a negative way that will upset the majority of the fans. So yeah, guys, that'll be it from me today. Just make sure to go support me over on Instagram, over on Twitter. I've also got a PayPal tip jar if you just want to make a one-off donation rather than become a patron. And yeah, that'll be it from me. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers from Max.